We're two hitchhikers. We met while hiking Mount Baldy with mutual friends, wasted no time, got engaged on a frozen alpine lake, got hitched, and have been adventuring together since. We're embarking on a new adventure of living big in a tiny home. Let's see how this goes.
Adventure awaits.
The winter weather pattern up here has been anything but a pattern. We've had our share of snow, wind, rain, sleet, hail, fog, and gorgeous clear days all within a week's time, and sometimes even a few at once. Oddly enough, it allows us a good balance of working hard days and taking it easier days. So today is International Cholo Day. Just kidding, I'm buttoned up because we're felling a tree or two. Nice cut. So we have processed this one tree. It was a dead tree on our property, and we put it into different piles. So this is mostly going to be used for firewood. That will all be used for firewood. And then what Ruben is loading up right now are the rounds that are going to be chopped up into about 6-inch pieces, and that will be fuel for our mini wood stove to keep us nice and warm for the rest of the winter. So now we've got to just load everything up into the back of the trailer and haul it over to the casita. Well, the trailer is empty. Ruben just dropped the last load of firewood. So the firewood that we use for the outside bonfires in that corner there. And then this is what we use for inside for a wood stove. And this is the juniper that we broke down today. So we got 2 trees. So I will tackle this with either the hatchet or the axe this coming week. And then once I finish this, it will go in there. So this little one-eyed wonder is a little bit of a special case cat. I know it's kind of weird to think about having a cat on a leash to take outside. I mean, she's a cat. I get it.
But this is our adventure cat. And this adventure cat has no idea the family that it joined.
Yes.
So.
But then in addition to that, she still needs to have her eye sewn up because there's a potential for dirt to get in and an infection to start again. And she's not the best at hearing or smelling. So for her to get lost out here would be kind of
devastating.
A challenge. Plus, she doesn't meow. She hardly has a meow. So if she's outside our front door in the middle of the night, we won't hear her.
And she's freaking out right now that she's outside. She's staring up at the sky, and her heart is racing because, well,
she understands
predators.
Yeah. But she's getting used to her harness. Little by little, we're taking her out on good days.
See, she's calmed a little bit.
Right, little one?
Get me out of here.
As soon as she was big enough to not be able to wiggle out, we began to get her used to her harness. She hated it.
Come on. Come on.
When we initially took her outside, she skulked as low to the ground as possible. Her prey and predator instincts are pretty strong. It probably didn't help taking her out for the first venture on a windy day.
You see the house yet?
With consistent outings and treats as little rewards, she's starting to not only get accustomed to the harness, but of being outside with more confidence as a cat. Sometimes those outings, though, they just wipe her out.
What are you doing in there? You are one strange cat. You like foil and garlic. You're in the garlic drawer. You weirdo.
So I am in what will possibly be our future garden area. So if you recall, last time we just did a very last minute attempt at planting, and we did fairly well with some crops. But what we did learn is it is far too hot here in the summertime to have our crops exposed for that long of a duration. Now, the crops we planted needed a lot of sunshine, but they were getting like 12 hours of just sun beating down on them, and it was very dry. And we tried to do what we could to help mitigate it, to try and keep the moisture in and the blistering sun off, but then the wind came. And anyway, it was a fun year to grow crops for us. So the thought is to possibly move them to this location, and these juniper trees will help us with the wind because it generally comes from that direction. So there'll be a little bit of a windbreak for the crops that we hopefully plant here. And this area gets, it has good drainage. The soil is very good here. In addition, these juniper trees will help to not just block a lot of the strong winds that can come up here, but it will give a little bit of shade throughout the daytime. So it's just not beating down on the plants for a solid, 10, 12 hours. They'll get a little bit of a break, but then when this, the sun moves, they'll get those splotches of sun that they need. The sun gets very high here, so we don't have to worry about the plants being in too much shade. But what I am doing now is, as usual, we have tons of rocks here, right? Or, decent sized boulders, these lava rocks. And this area, I'm always tripping over these because the grass tufts get so big. You can't tell if it's a grass tuft, if it's a rock, if there's gonna be a pothole or a gopher hole, not a pothole. We do have a gopher issue here.
You're a disgrace and your varmints. You're one of the lowest members of the food chain, and you'll probably be replaced by the rat.
And that's what all of this is. Gophers work for us because they help to till the soil, right? So our soil doesn't get too compact, but then they are such a pest because they till the soil where we don't want them to. So the plan is to not plant directly in the ground here. The plan is to level this off, which is why I'm trying to remove all of those rocks. So it's a slow process. Then we're going to do some raised garden beds with some hardware cloth underneath it, it looks like chicken wire. It's the square kind. And that will be on the bottom. So the roots should still be able to get through those that have longer tap roots, but the gophers won't be able to come up into the raised garden bed and eat the crop from underneath. Now, we didn't have an issue with it over there, but we anticipate having that here. So I'm trying to clear the rocks to see how much of a flat space we can get. Hopefully by the time I finish assessing this, we'll still have use of the backhoe to maybe help us level it off. The only issue is we have an irrigation line that runs right directly through here. So we have to do that gingerly, which is why Ruben will do it and I won't be doing it. But right now I'm just doing the hard labor, trying to get the rocks out and then trying to assess what needs to be backfilled. And then maybe we're looking at, well, all in all, I think maybe we'll have 10 feet in width and then possibly 30 feet going that way. So the garden beds will just have to be smaller. We're thinking maybe 4 by 8 garden beds and see how we go. But that all is still to be determined right now. I need more rocks to move. Yeah, and it seems kind of early to be doing this in February, but planting season is just around the corner. I'm gonna have to start, you know, working on the seedlings and everything pretty soon here. So I wanna be ready this year and not do everything last minute like we did last year, so yeah. So here's an example of one of the holes I pulled one of the rocks out of. And this is the pile of rocks that I've pulled out so far this morning. I have to be careful while I'm walking because there's holes everywhere and the grass kind of covers it up. So I don't want to twist an ankle. This little thing is what is sticking out of the ground, or what was sticking out of the ground. So we never know here if the rock is just going to be something like this or something like this. Now I could leave this in the ground, but this is in a pathway that I walk on a lot and it's very easy to trip over this, so it's coming out. Don't tell Ruben that I'm stealing some of his gravel from the pad. I need to backfill it. So, do you think he's gonna notice I used any of the gravel? I guess he'll find out when this goes live. So quick update on the compost situation. Thank you, by the way, for those of you who commented and giving suggestions. It's always very helpful. What I did determine is that I had a layer of straw on the top, and straw happens to be a little bit water retentive. Is that the word? That doesn't sound right. Straw tends to not let water permeate through it. That sounds a little bit better. So basically I had a barrier, kind of a water resistant barrier on the top of the composting pile, and that was preventing the moisture to seep in. So that's why the top part got dry. Now the bottom part was turning into good compost. So that is a benefit. So I readjusted that situation, but what I also did is I went to our friendly neighbors, those guys over there, and I got some of their manure to help kind of inoculate the composting process. Hello. Are you the escape artist that came onto our property last week? I think it was you. Yeah, you have the brown belly. So obviously I'm not going to show you any pictures of manure. I think you all know what it looks like, but I did add that to the composting pile, and hopefully with a better layer system and some coming precipitation here in the next week, it will be back on track and ready for wherever we end up placing those garden beds. Hopefully it will be in that spot there by those juniper trees. I don't know if that's the safest spot for you. There we go. What's he doing?
We're still working on the leach lines in between Ruben's long days. The weather will just continue on this wild ride for about another month or so. But that's okay, because neither of us are really ready for summer yet anyway. And life is good. Well, family, that wraps up this week's update for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.